chair, and also having to pull the belts down, because it's most important in those matches, that you're trying to win. You can go out there and like make it a stunt show, but that doesn't really sell. At the end of the day, you have to be trying to win when it's all said and done.
And you're right. I mean, the elevation part of it, but you're sitting there too, and you're looking around. Ron and John, I mean, two established heel heat getting guys. Edge and Christian there. The Dudleys are getting hot. There's so many different combinations that really elevate. And here, you guys were probably the youngest guys in the dressing room at the time, and here you guys are sitting there holding the world championship. That had to make you feel good.
Yeah, no, I mean it was the ultimate honor, and once again it was hard to believe that it happened that quickly, but that's very cool. It's one
And
of the
what was your age at that time, Matt?
At that time when we won the titles, we would have been, this was 94. I was 24. I was 24, and Jeff was either 21, 22.
Yeah, young. Yeah.
Yep.
So, Matt, one thing, when Ron and I were sitting there watching you and Edge and Christian go through something with your ladder match, and somebody asked Ron, said, "What would you do if they called that when you were in there?" He said, "Tag John." So we were so freaking happy that we didn't have the athletic ability to be in the ladder matches with you guys. Our career would have ended somewhere during one of those matches. We know for sure. But when you guys started setting that up, I've said this so many times that, like, the first ladder match with Sean and Razor, there's no template for this. They had one ladder.
Yeah.
That ladder breaks. It's a disaster. I don't know what they would have done. You guys didn't have a template. Now they have a template, talking about the current guys, off what you guys built. I mean, that had to be, you guys were flying into parts unknown with that.
Yeah, it was something new. And also, with that being said, it was scary and it was intimidating in some ways, because we're going into new territory, but also we're getting a blank canvas and we're getting to paint it for the first time.
Right.
So, so many people, we hear it all the time, they go, "Oh man, you guys, you and Edge, Christian, especially the Hardys, because you guys did it all, and you guys did all the crazy stuff, like y'all the OGs of the ladder match." So like, if we hadn't been the first ones to do that type of ladder match and have that style of ladder match, I don't think we would have been remembered that way in history, which that's really cool, because we got to paint a blank canvas for the first time ever.
It is pretty cool. And then you had the tables, ladders, and chairs. I mean, that was just a masterpiece. But that has the ability to also be an absolute car wreck, a disaster. Yes. It could go the other way. I mean, you guys are really kind of playing a zero-sum game here of you guys are going to walk out either huge heroes or like, what the heck were we thinking? I mean, did you guys feel that going into it, that you knew that there's huge risk on both sides?
Yeah, it's different when you're working with inanimate objects out there, and you're taking these huge calculated risks, right? We were nervous about it. Especially, I think the one we were the most nervous about was kind of like the blueprint for technically the first TLC match. The first TLC match was SummerSlam 2000, but that WrestleMania 2000 was a triple threat triangle ladder match, and that was technically the first one because we used all those items in there, and it was us and the Dudleys and Edge and Christian, and we were figuring out as we went along, and we were figuring out ways to integrate things and try and build, like, try and style it after a regular wrestling match where it builds as the match goes on and then comes to some big crescendo before you're finished. And we kind of figured it out. We made some mistakes in that very first one. Looking back in hindsight, as we went on and did those, there was WrestleMania 2000, there was SummerSlam 2000, TLC 1, and then WrestleMania 17 in Houston in the Astrodome, which was the best one. And I think by that time we had really locked in, and we'd done a good job at focusing on trying to tell a story within those contexts, within those parameters of being able to use a ladder, table, and chair, and also having to pull the belts down, because it's most important in those matches, that you're trying to win. You can go out there and make it a stunt show, but that doesn't really sell. At the end of the day, you have to be trying to win when it's all said and done. And if you are,
and the key, and I want to jump in, the key to you guys is you guys were telling stories in these spots too.
And you couldn't set a ladder up underneath the titles and then go up there and jump off onto your opponent. That didn't make sense. So it wasn't just a stunt show. It had to be really well thought out You had to really make sense of what was going on, and like, and if you were going to do some kind of big dive, it had to make sense of why you're there and why you're not trying to get the titles and win the belt. So we're really happy how all that came along, especially from a psychology standpoint, as we all improved and got better once we kind of knew what we were doing.